nobody's going to want to hear me pick on Josh for the next hour or so, so we need to get those phone lines filled up. John in Kissimmee, tell me what's going on with your Camry.
Yeah, it all started back in July. We came back from vacation, and we were going to the store that Sunday, and it started slamming into gear. So we brought it to you, and you guys did the AMSOIL fluid exchange on the transmission, and now every once in a while the check engine light comes on and it's slamming in the gear. My wife took it to one of these box stores, and they scanned it. It's pulling a P033 knock sensor code.
Mm-hmm.
I took it to my mechanic last Monday. They couldn't get it to duplicate the problem, and they cleared the codes, and they said, well, bring it back next week after the hurricane, because they're just like you. They can't get people, and they got more cars than they can work on. So I just want to know if there was a technical service bulletin, or if you'd ever run onto this with this Camry and this transmission.
Yeah.
Or if it's
all right.
something that might be reflashed.
This is the first thing, John. If you don't have the transmission issue with the check engine light off, I think
Right.
I don't think you really have a transmission problem to worry about. Now, let me explain how this works. When a Toyota sets a code, and a code gets stored in the computer system for pretty much anything, that car is going to go into kind of a limp mode, as they call it. It will make the transmission shift funny. It'll reduce engine power. It does a whole bunch of stuff. It does that to try to keep from hurting itself. Now, it being a knock sensor code, see, a knock sensor will cause a vehicle to do all this if for some reason the engine was making some internal noises. And then it would go ahead and go in, it would set a code, and it would go through all this rigmarole where you'd wind up having reduced power and limp mode situation. But now, if the motor sounds okay and it's running fine and everything's good when there is no service light on, it's most likely, and this is what we usually see on a vehicle once it gets some age on it, and depending on where the knock sensor is located on the engine, sometimes the connector where it goes on to the knock sensor it will get corroded, and you'll start getting an intermittent connection. And when that happens, it'll set a code, and then the next thing you know, you've got an issue like you're dealing with, and then miraculously it'll just kind of fix itself. So you know what a knock sensor does. See, it's bolted to the motor, and when it picks up a frequency like a knock or a ticking noise, it will tell the computer system that there's an internal engine issue, whether it be spark knocking from bad gas or water in your fuel, to maybe there's something internal in the engine that's actually causing a problem or getting ready to cause a problem. And then what winds up happening is, see, that knock sensor signal, the frequency that it picks up will turn that into a signal. It goes back to the computer, and then the computer takes that information and it retards the timing. It reduces engine power. It'll actually cause the transmission to shift funny. All these things because of a knock sensor. So, if you're not having a problem with the motor itself, or you don't hear any abnormal noises from it when you're driving it, then most likely it is a bad connector. Those connectors on those knock sensors are notorious on Nissans and Toyotas for some reason or other, and we see that all the time. So if somebody's going to go in there, if it was me, I would disconnect the knock sensor. I would look and see if I had any corrosion on it, number one. If I do, I would probably be inclined to replace the knock sensor and the actual connector and pigtail that goes to it, and just solder the wires back together and put heat shrink on them. That would probably be your best bet. But as far as it having a transmission problem itself, you've already had it serviced with AMSOIL, and those transmissions hold up so well on that vintage Toyota Camry that I doubt very seriously you have any issues with it. I think you got a bad connection on the knock sensor itself, and not that great of a big of a deal. See if you can get it handled there locally. Pass the information that I'm giving you on to the technician that you're dealing with over there in Kissimmee, and if they can't help you, give us a call, and I'm sure JD will try to get you worked into the shop so we can give you a hand with it. I appreciate your call, John. I hope it all works out good for you, buddy.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.